and welcome to The Rest is Football with Alan Shearer, Micah Richards and me, Gary Lineker. It's been another thoroughly entertaining midweek of Champions League action, and we now know the lineup for this year's semi-finals. Arsenal play against Paris Saint-Germain and Barcelona against Inter. But before we get into discussing all that action, I've just got a quick announcement. I'm very pleased to say we've got a brand new show that's part of the Rest is Football family, hosted by the brilliant Millie Bright and Rachel Daly. They'll be giving a fascinating insight into the world of both women's football, discussing all the best action and stories both on and off the pitch. Millie and Rachel are genuinely the best of friends and have an infectious love of the game. They, of course, won the Euros together for England a couple of years ago, and there's a big summer coming up as the Lionesses look to defend their title. Lots to look forward to. The new show is called The Rest is Football Daily Brightness, and the first 2 episodes are out now, so do make sure you check that out and have a listen.
I thought you were going to say, when you had an announcement, are you going to say, and also we'll look at Newcastle v Crystal Palace after the Champions League?
Oh my word, he's beat his record.
I thought that was the big announcement. Sorry guys, we'll obviously go to talk about Champions League first.
We've got a sister podcast coming out. We've had a week of Champions League football. We've had Rory McIlroy win the Masters, and you want to start with Newcastle beating Palace?
No, I just thought that was the big announcement, and Newcastle have moved into 3rd position in the Premier League.
All right, I'll add that on. And Newcastle have moved up into 3rd position.
That's better. Thank you.
Is that all right, Al?
Is that
all right? How's your week been? Mine was great because it started off brilliantly because Rory McIlroy won. Now, Micah, we were all 3 of us were on Match of the Day last Saturday, weren't you? This is Thursday morning now, but we were all sat there on Saturday, and Alan and myself watching the golf and this, and you were giving us so much stick. Now, you watched the golf on Sunday night, and I believe you might have been converted.
I'm definitely converted. On Saturday night, I was annoyed, mainly because fantasy football, the clean sheet that I lost. And then you two kept going on about the golf, and Rory's going to do it, and this, that, and the other. And it was annoying me, so I went back to my dressing room. I had a little regroup. We do the show, and off we go. So early doors, you lot starting to chat. Oh, the golf tonight is going to be what does Al use? It's going to be sensational. So I thought, you know what? Let me just have a little ganders. So I watched for 10 minutes, and I thought, all right, I'll give it half an hour. I watched it for half an hour, and I'm like, oh my God, I can feel the emotions, the up, the down, the round and around. The commentators draw you in, absolutely outstanding. Obviously, the way they flip from different shots, you see some absolute worldly shots. And I don't know much about golf, but that shot where I don't even know what you call it, it's a wedge up and high over the trees, and then the bendy one around the trees.
Second at 15? Yeah, second.
Oh my
Call
God.
it a draw, Micah, a hard draw, even though I hooked it round the trees.
A hard draw, and then I think, okay, I've got something to do the next day. What do I have to do? I've got something to do. It's getting late, so I'm thinking, all right, he's going to put the putt away, doesn't he, to secure it. We can all celebrate, go to bed. You lot can have your little day or whatever. I'll give you lot your flowers for converting me into a fan. And then it goes to a playoff. I'm thinking to myself, I've waited this long. I've got to wait a little bit more. And I can tell you now, I'm not going to play it, but I'm a golf fan. And Rory McIlroy, what a legend you are.
Yeah. Absolutely. I was watching. I've been a massive Rory fan for a long time. I've been going back quite a while now. I used to play at a place called Queenwood. Alan, obviously. Yeah. Many, many years ago, I used to play quite a lot with Darren Clarke, who's great golfer himself, won the British Open. And we used to play quite regularly together. And he said, can you play tomorrow? He gave me a call. And I went, yeah, I'm around. He said, I've got this young boy coming who's going to be the next giant of golf. And I went, really? He said, yeah, 14-year-old. So I get there and it's Rory McIlroy, right? So I played with this kid. Oh my God.
Amazing.
He was like, it was this tiny little kid, 14. He was just ripping it. So I think he shot like 69 or something from the back tees. So I've always followed his career subsequently, and he's had so many ups and downs, and I think the whole nation was desperate for him to do it. And imagine the pressure on him because of this thing. He's not one that's the one that's missing. It's the one that's missing. All anyone ever talked about. And then you get people over the years, wouldn't you, saying, oh, he's a choker and all that. I mean, they have no idea of what it must be like to undergo that sort of pressure. And to come through all that and so many ups and downs on that final day. It was just the most mesmerising, horrific, torturous watch that I've ever done. But in the end, it was completely magnificently magical.
Do you know what I found really interesting is the power of your mind is mentally how, I mean, you've got one of the greatest golfers we have ever seen, and he was openly admitted at the end, before the tee off, he is so nervous. And then on 13, he duffs that chip, doesn't he? And then all of a sudden, it's like, I mean, if you've never thought how sport can play with your mind and all of these things, no matter how great you are, that I think is a great example of how incredible and tough it really, really is. And like it was, I mean, it was TV at its very, very best, wasn't it? Sport at its very best.
It really was. All my lads were here, and we were watching it together, and we're all massive Rory fans. And honestly, it's like somebody had lost their life on 13 when he went in. No, what have you done? What have you done? You could have put it anywhere. No, but at the end, it was like when Leicester won the league again. We were all dancing around, all of us hugging and crying, and it's beautiful.
Just before we go on though, Justin Rose, class act.
Absolutely.
Class
Alan
act.
Deserves a mention. Always is a class act. And the one thing you can say about Justin, boy, did he hit 2 good shots in the playoff as well.
Yeah, as well, yeah. Just the way he spoke afterwards, it was amazing how gracious he was and all of those. He was class.
Yeah, he's my favourite. He was birdie after birdie after birdie. Yeah. He's my guy. Obviously Rory, because, the whole Irish connection and all that, but I'll be supporting Rose from now on.
It's only taken 5 years. We've got Micah who's on the golf.
We've got him on the golf.
I'm fully on board.
Yeah. Anyway, this is not the rest is golf. This is the rest is football. So we should. But congratulations, Rory. Well done. You're a champion. You're a champion. Bloody legend. We've got to start in one place. The Arsenal, we can call them this morning, Mike, if you'd like that, because I thought actually it was a really, really good to go there, not just hold on to that lead, but to win. And with the late breakaway, obviously Real Madrid had to push at the end, but they looked comfortable throughout, I felt.
You know what? I can sit here and say Arsenal were outstanding, they were excellent, tactics and all that, but I want to start with Arteta, because I think he was under immense pressure last night, just because you go there and you're 3-0 up. If Arsenal were to lose that game, that would have been massive for him as a manager. There would have been a lot of people saying that he can't get over the line with this team. And the way he set up the team, they didn't just drop. They pressed when they needed to, and then they dropped when they needed to. The formation and the tactics, he got absolutely spot on. And I was saying before the game, all Arsenal need to do is believe. This Madrid team are not as good as everyone thinks. They've got superstars, some of the best individuals in the world, but as a team, they're actually not that great, and it was only Arsenal who was going to stop Arsenal from going through. I mean, the players that they have, I'll let Al talk about the individual performances, but as a collective, over the 2 legs, absolutely battered Madrid and fully deserved it.
I said it a few times before that this is not the best Real Madrid side at the moment. It's a work in progress, and they've really struggled in La Liga. So I always thought Arsenal had a good chance, but to win so comfortably, I think was an exceptional effort. Alan,
they absolutely dismantled them in both games, didn't they? I mean, I was at St James's Park, but I had one eye on the game, and then Newcastle finished early, so I watched the last 35 minutes or so of Arsenal. And I obviously did the first game at the Emirates where they battered them also. I mean, where do you start with some outstanding performances? I mean, Declan Rice, oh my goodness. Oof. I mean, those 2 games, if you didn't already know how good he is, then you should now, because he put in two world-class performances against big opposition. And
Agreed.
he more than stood out. Him, Kivior in the defence. I mean, Miles Lewis-Skelly. I mean, with the injuries that they had as well,
He takes my breath away, that boy. Confidence.
Even with the injuries that Arsenal had, to dismantle this Real Madrid team who always find a way in this competition by hook or by crook. They always have found something, but not over these two games. Arsenal battered them, and there will be massive belief in that football club, in the dressing room, that they can go all the way in this competition. And it's such a tough one to call now with who's left, because if Arsenal play like they have done in the last two games, actually in all of the games this season in the Champions League, because they've been so impressive. I've watched a lot of their games, worked on a lot of their games this season. It's very difficult to pick a fault with them in any of their games, and they battered PSG at the Emirates early October. I did that game. Dembele didn't play because of disciplinary reasons for PSG. But they will really, really fancy their chances now.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Al on that. I do believe it's a different PSG though now. I think they've grown in stature since then. I think the balance of the team, whether they're playing Doué, Kvaratskhelia, Barcola, or Dembele obviously going to be playing. So, but the only thing with PSG, they get you in wide areas. And if you look at the way Arsenal set up at times, so they've got the four at the back, they've got Martinelli who goes really deep, and Saka goes really deep. So when they've got the four at the back who are very narrow, if it's a Saka against a Dembele out there, 1v1, or on the other side it's Barcola or Doué, whoever it may be, against Martinelli or whatever side it may be, then it's going to be they can't drop too soon. And I don't want to talk about tactics too much, but there was so many times that Vasquez on one side was trying to beat their midfield, and it didn't work. But in them areas, it's going to be more offensive players if Arsenal drop too deep. So that's going to be intriguing for me. But in terms of the game, I agree with Arsenal should believe they can beat anyone. They really should, because they've got the quality. I thought Marina was outstanding as well, because we've talked about Arsenal and a number 9, haven't we? And we talked about the movements and all that sort of stuff. But when you've got runners in Martinelli and Saka, if someone's going to drop deep, we talked about Kane, and Kane drops deep, it's all right. When they've got Coleman or Sané or whoever wants, at least who wants to run in behind, it works so well because the timing was really good, drawing people out, and then the right pass at the right time. I thought he was outstanding as well. So it's going to be interesting to see against PSG now.
What about Saka, man? He's like a mentality monster. He's isn't it? He's like,
Mr. Penalty. And I mean, who tries a little dinky penalty like that? I mean, who would do that under any circumstances? That's the problem with that penalty. I think it's a really good penalty to hit occasionally because it will make the keepers think, and it might even be worth missing one when you actually go on to win for the future, because goalkeepers now will think, oh, he's got that little dinky one in his locker. But it does look embarrassing when you miss, when you don't quite get it right.
It's not a good look when you miss, not at all. But for him to even think, actually, I'm in the quarterfinals of the Champions League.
Yeah.
I'm in the Bernabéu playing Real Madrid, and you've got the nuts to say, I'm just going to dink this. It's like, really? Come on.
Do you see he said that after he missed the penalty, he went back and he was defending, and he got the ball and just shanked it out of play with his right, out of his right foot, or shanked it upfield with his right foot. I'm thinking to myself, oh, his head's gone. He needs to recover. He needs to recover ASAP. And then, of course, mentality monster Saka steps up again. What a player!
What about his finish? Was incredible. One of the run and the finish to dink it over him was just a thing of beauty.
It was. It was, and once that went in, you knew there was no way back for Real Madrid. Really, a couple of interesting decisions in the first half. The penalty ones. One was obviously the Saka miss, and the other one obviously that was turned over when he gave it on field with Rice against Mbappe.
Yeah, I was delighted to see the referee actually have the courage to say no, not for me, and not give a penalty, which was the right decision. It was never a penalty.
Don't you think both decisions were quite soft though? You know, when the referee give it, I mean, yes,
Oh, yeah.
you could argue that it was a penalty Arsenal's one. Holding, but at the start, they're sort of holding each other, aren't they, you know?
Well, that happens about 50 times a game, doesn't it, at every corner? So that's the thing.
So when it is given, then you can't complain about it because you know the rules. But I know it goes on, or I know the laws. But when it is given against you, then you can't moan and say, well, okay, well, you should get 50 then. Well, yeah, you did hold him.
Yeah.
I think what we can moan about is that 9 times out of 10, they won't give it for that. Therefore, you've got inconsistency. And at what point is it a foul and what point is it not? Yeah. I come back to my old thing, and I'm sorry for being boring, but if it's an appeal system, do you appeal it and then you say, is it a foul or is it not a foul, rather than is it enough of a foul? Because that just leads to chaos.
I think you're right, Gary. I think it needs to come in now. Because even on the Rice penalty, it took 5 minutes.
I know.
Like, how can it take 5? Why is it taking so long? And on our screen, there was told referee to go look at it, but the decision came up and it said offside. And then after it wasn't offside. They just overturned. It wasn't a foul. So the information that you get, it's just not good enough, is it?
Do you want to pitch in on Newcastle now?
No, we'll do it at the end. We'll do it at the end. We had one at Newcastle as well.
Yes, well, I thought you might want to do it now, but we'll do it at the end.
If we hadn't dominated that game, then I was going to lose my rag over that decision that I was given last night at Newcastle. So
we'll come to.
If you want to talk about it now, we'll call or later then. But it was. That's why I said at least the referee had the courage to say no. I don't think that's enough of a penalty, and I'm not giving that. So yeah.
Absolutely agreed. It's quite a tough one though when you're in the Bernabéu with all those fans and the expectancy, and they're all talking this week, weren't they, about la remontada, which means the comeback, which is Madrid are famous for. But they never really looked like they were going to challenge Arsenal. I didn't think they needed to get ahead.
You look at Real Madrid like they were with PSG years ago, when they've got the superstars in their team. Are they a team, or are they individuals, or what? I mean, it's not, obviously all's not well there.
Yeah, there was a stat yesterday in the whole competition. I think 3 of the Madrid forwards, I think Mbappe and Vinicius was definitely in there, run the least in the tournament. So if you're going to run the least in a tournament, when you get the ball, basically you have to score. It was giving me PSG vibes of Neymar, Mbappe, and Messi. So they've got great individuals, but as a team, if you don't run, tactically, you've got to have a plan to think, get back in straight away so you don't have to run. Just get back into a position. But at times, it's almost just, I don't want to say the walking. It's easy to criticise them. Madrid are quality. Mbappe scored like 40 goals this season. So I don't want to criticise them, but they didn't have a plan off the ball because Arsenal just had too much legs for them. They bring Valverde into midfield from right back, which was a good decision. He's a top player, he is, with his energy, his passing, whatever. But he couldn't do it by himself. Tchouaméni couldn't really get into the game. Camavinga was suspended as well. But they didn't really have a plan off the ball to deal with what Arsenal wanted to do, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're a bit short at the moment. It'd be interesting to see if you can, with players like Vinicius Junior and Kylian Mbappe that don't really do the hard yards going the other way, whether they could find a way to win doing that.
I think they can. I think they can.
No, they can, but it's
but I think that's
consistency.
If you watch the Champions League, you guys watch the Champions League, you're at most of the games. And when I say Madrid have not been that great recently, everyone thinks I'm hating against Madrid. It's nothing to... I watched the game with my eye. I'm watching the game. They just have players who are unbelievable, and in big moments they take the opportunities, but at times they don't batter teams, they don't tactically dismantle teams. That's not what Madrid do. They've just got the best players, and in big moments they perform. And the last couple of years they've done it, and Ancelotti's a great manager in getting the best out of players doing that. But Madrid have been like this for a while.
I thought Arsenal, though, they did it really well. I think you were right to point out them tactically, Micah, the way they look so comfortable, and some great individual performances as well, as Alan said. Right round the pitch, every single one of them turned up. Miles Lewis-Skelly I just find it incredible that you can be so mature, so confident, and so able in an arena like that at the tender age of 18 is something really, amazing. Really special.
Fantastic. Really is. Great to see, actually.
Staggering. But I know Luis Skelly, I said in the first leg, he was outstanding and Rice was too. But my player of the match yesterday was Odegaard. And
he's superb as well. Absolutely.
Only because you can go to the Bernabéu and you can hide. And he was always available for a pass to get Arsenal out, you know? So when you watch it on TV, you'll see Declan making these amazing runs and these tackles and all that sort of stuff. But when Arsenal had to get out, Odegaard was the one orchestrating that. I just thought he had a sensational performance, not in terms of goals, assists, this and all that, but wanting the ball. That was most important there. He didn't freeze at all.
It's funny because fans will say, "What do you mean he just wants the ball? Doesn't everybody want the ball?" But I know exactly what you mean. It's a get out and someone, because it's not easy if you hemmed in a little bit. It's someone that to relieve the pressure. Correct. And have to, obviously we all want a little bit of the football, but if you're under that kind of pressure and you give it away a couple of times, say, then I've played with lots of players that you suddenly can't. They're funnily enough, they're behind another player there. Oh, I can't quite see him. I can't quite get the ball to him. So I know exactly what you're talking about. Well done, Arsenal. Well done. They've got PSG in the semis. Let's move to the other semi-final that was played last night. Inter. That was another exciting game. I mean, it was watching that one on the iPad. 2-2, and that meant, of course, that Inter held on and went through. But Bayern did have one or two chances, gave them a bit of a scare.
I was disappointed with Inter Milan over two legs. They're better than what they're showing. I thought they would easily beat Bayern. Bayern actually deserved to go through on chances. Better finishing over the two legs.
Not good enough at the back, though, Bayern. They're not good enough at the back.
That was the conundrum for Bayern. And that's why I said, with Martinez and Thuram up front, it was always going to cause them some sort of problems. Kim at the back, he just makes... Although Eric Dyer had a really good game, scored a goal.
What about that clearance on the line?
Clearance off the line, it was sensational to get it up and over. But yeah, Inter under Inzaghi are a lot better than they've shown in the last. The sort of, I don't want to say scrape through because you've still got to get through, but they're better than they've shown in the two legs.
But they're in the semis.
Yeah.
They've got a goal scoring Lautaro Martinez, haven't they?
Dangerous. Actually, it's really difficult to say, I'm going to pick that with certainty that they're going to win it, because there's an argument for all four teams to say they could have a really good chance of winning.
Yeah. Well, I think that's absolutely true. Harry Kane will be gutted because he got the goal that got them back in it, didn't he? Good finish through the leg.
He shifted the ball just to his right-hand side, and then you see it so many times, don't we, about how many times it goes through defenders' legs. It was a brilliant finish, it really was.
Yeah. He'll be kicking himself, though, won't he, with the chance he missed in the first leg. But even he had an interview with Thierry Henry recently, and he said he actually aims to go through the defender's legs. So shift it to the side, wait for them to open, then shoot through, which I think was, quite remarkable to do that. And I've heard the thing of going through the goalkeeper's legs, when he's up and just try to poke it through, but to go through defender's legs, I thought that was interesting. But yeah, he got his goal, but it wasn't enough, was it?
Let's take a break now, and when we come back, we'll talk about the other two matches. And don't worry, Alan, I've not forgotten about Newcastle. Back shortly. Welcome back to The Rest is Football with Micah Richards, Alan Shearer and me, Gary Lineker, discussing the Champions League. Let's talk about the game at Villa Park. You were there, Alan. Were you there, Micah, or were you in the studio?
We was in the studio.
You were in the studio, CBS. You were with Amazon, Alan. I mean, what a game. They nearly did it. Nearly did it, even though they went obviously 2 goals behind.
It was an incredible atmosphere at Villa Park. Before the game, it was like, it was just great to be there, and listen to it and feel the energy. But I actually said before the game, just before the co-coms, I said, Villa can't win this game in the first 10 or 15 minutes, but they can lose it. And ultimately, that's what happened. That's what cost them, because they were so naive in trying to get into forward positions. They left themselves open at the back and were punished by PSG. And I didn't see them coming back into the game at half time, because PSG looked a really, really impressive team. The midfield, how they want the ball, how they play through Villa's press. Their fullbacks, Hakimi and Mendes, are world-class fullbacks. They really are, not only defensively, but going the other way as well, as they scored both their goals. And then Villa came out at half time. It was just like a different team, you know. They got their first goal, and then Villa Park erupted. It was just, and then I was thinking, nah, it can't happen. And then they get another one, and you're thinking, oh my word, it was an incredible game of football. It really was. But I mean, Donnarumma had to make 2 or 3 outstanding saves, and then Konsa missed that header after he's.
Oh, I missed it completely.
His finish was amazing. You know, when Rashford sort of got to the byline and pulled it back to him, his finish was great. It was a clever finish. But the header, I was thinking, it was the easiest chance of the night, wasn't it? It was incredible.
It was. What about the performance of Rashford? You saw it live. I thought it was excellent in the game. How did it look live to you?
No, he was brilliant. I mean, he's got his mojo back. There's no doubt. I mean, he had to, didn't he? He had to. Otherwise, if he didn't do well in this spell, what was he going to do? Where was he going to go? You know, he's got a world-class manager at Villa Park. There's no excuses now for him not to perform, and that's what you can see. He's got a swagger back. He's got a strut. He's enjoying it all. He's looking really sharp again. So yeah, it was him. McGinn thought was out. There were so many impressive performances in that second half. It was nearly a glorious night at Villa Park. They just fell short.
Guys, can I just ask you in a wider context to the point of Rashford? What do you do now? You've had to leave. I know Alan's left clubs as well, but you've had to leave different places. Yes, on the up, you know, you go get the move to Barcelona and all that sort of thing. But what's going through your mind now? That obviously things have not worked for him at Man United for whatever reason. You go on loan. It looks as though things are going well. I know people all talk about stats, he's not scored that many goals and he's only had a few, whatever, but he's playing a lot better now. So where do you see this going for Marcus Rashford?
I don't know. I think for Marcus, as far as Marcus is concerned, I just think you get your head down and keep playing and keep performing at this sort of level. And then things will take care of itself. If he keeps going with this incredible attitude that he's developed now, and he's obviously wants to prove a point, I imagine he would never say that, but he will want to prove a point, not just to perhaps Manchester United, not necessarily to the fans, but also to himself, because he's had a bit of stick. Let's be honest, over the last 12 months, 6 months. And he's had a real issue, obviously, with the 2 recent coaches at Manchester United. Now he's gone off. What he does at the end of the season, who knows? I think I can't see it back at Manchester United. But what he's doing now, if he keeps scoring goals and keeps creating chances, I thought he was excellent, really, really good on Tuesday night. And like Alan said, he does look like he's got his mojo back, because we know when Marcus is on it, he's an absolutely enthralling footballer. So let's hope he can carry on to the end of the season. And if he does that, and if he keeps his form, and this is the important thing for him, keep doing it to the end of the season, and then he'll have really good choices at the end of the season. Whether it's to go back to Manchester United, whether Aston Villa try to keep him, or whether other clubs now go, my goodness, this is the Rashford we really know, and who's such a threat and so brilliant on the counter attack and things like that. So that's the important thing for him is to keep that consistency now right to the end of the season, to give yourself options and then decide at the end of the season.
I'd be astonished if there's a career for him at Manchester United. Not while Amorim's there. He's made it clear he doesn't want him. I mean, Man United are in the mire in the Premier League, and yet he thinks to get him out of the football club is the best answer. So there's no way he's going back there whilst Amorim's there.
Just quickly then, just one to you, Al. I know you want to move on, Gareth, but
no rush.
So he's playing in a system at Villa where when they press, they sort of press with 2. The feeling was that he's best out wide, and even when he gets his assist, he's in a wide area.
I think he's better out wide than he is down the middle.
Yes, he is.
But he's actually showing that he can do a job down the middle too as well. So you got Amorim, you've got Højlund, you've got Xerxes, and at Man United. What do you think the number 9 at Man United needs to be? You was an all-round centre forward. You could hold it up. You could score goals. Do you know what I mean? You could play that pass round the corner, get yourself into the box. What is it that, because they had him at Man United. They was deemed he's not good enough. Whether that was off the field issues, we don't know. But now you've got 2 strikers who are struggling. But it's almost like they're crying out for what Rashford can do. I don't know if that's to do with the tactics, with the way Man United play 2 number 10s, and the players are in there who are more suited to playing out the wings. Maybe he's not getting service. Maybe he can't make the runs that he wants to make. But what do Man United need in that number 9? Because you've been that player.
Well, they need a world-class striker at Man United. I mean, I've made my feelings known about Højlund. I do feel sorry for him. I think he's been really unfairly treated in that, what he's being asked to do at Manchester United. But they have to be in the market for a world-class forward who can hold the ball up, who can score goals, who can run him behind. Clearly, at the minute, those Højlund and Xerxes can't do that, and that's one of the reasons, and there are plenty, but that's one of the reasons why Man United aren't very good. Now, I go back to Marcus, and I just think there's a personality clash for whatever reason, whether it was attitude, whether it was... There's obviously more than one reason why the coach doesn't want him there. As I said, he's got that. He must be looking at Rashford at Aston Villa and looking at what he's got in forward positions at Man United and think, what's happening here, you know? And that's why I just feel... There's no way for him at Man United whilst Amorim's there. There's no way he's going back. And then in lies the problem. How do they then sell him? Everyone knows that the manager doesn't want him. I don't know how long he's got left on his contract. He's on a fortune in terms of the contract. They're going to want some decent dough for him. So therein lies the problem. So it'll be an interesting one at the end of the season to watch. It
really will. I just want to, why it's on my mind, talking about players that have left Manchester United. Scott McTominay.
Yeah.
Scored 2 more goals, one of them absolute beauty, for Napoli at the beginning of the week. And it's remarkable how well some of the United players that were there are doing. And it just jumped into my head because Scott McTominay is exactly the player, I would say, that would actually work in an Amorim system. He's what they need. And now I know they were half forced to sell him because of these PSR, and he's a local lad, so he brought through, which we all think is nonsensical and a ridiculous feature of this particular rule. But yeah, there's him. Rashford looks like a different human being. So it suggests, doesn't it, and all the evidence is there that United, and it must be tough for their fans, but it's kind of a bit rotten there at the minute, isn't it?
Well, their season is, we're recording this on Thursday, their season is tonight in the Europa League. That they have to win that competition. Otherwise, well, it already has been a disastrous season in the Premier League. So their season is this evening. They have to get through in that competition.
Well, by the time you hear this, you'll know whether they got through or not. But on to Barcelona, Dortmund. Dortmund gave it a run for their money. Guirassy, hat-trick again. He scored a lot of goals. He looks like a real poacher to me. But I have to say Barcelona's high line. I mean, well, you've got a 4-goal lead, right? And you're taking absolute liberties to play. And now, obviously, they don't just play high. They play higher than any other team I've ever seen, I think. I know Hansi Flick, that's his style of football. It didn't work when he was a national team manager. He tried it then. We always going at the time, what are they doing? And they're doing the same thing now. They try and outscore you, I suppose. And obviously it means you can play much more in the opposition's half. But every time Dortmund had the ball, without any pressure on it, without anyone close to challenging, they'd run towards the ball and try and get you offside. Now, if I were a striker, I don't know about you, Alan, I'd be absolutely licking my lips to play against them because I'd actually even be deliberately offside 2 or 3 times, which I did in my career, particularly against Arsenal, deliberately early on to make them keep doing it because then all you need to do is go deep, spin and turn just as the person is passing the ball, and you're going to beat them because you know they're going to go in the opposite direction. And Dortmund did get behind them a number of times. But Micah, you're a defender. You need to tell me what on earth. I mean, I know that it's worked for them this season. They're top of La Liga. They're in the semi-finals of the Champions League. But you just wonder whether you can actually go on to win a competition like that.
I don't know if you can. I can play in that system. Do you remember Pellegrini's tactics where we weren't allowed to drop past the 18-yard line? Do you remember that? So we couldn't go behind.
You were actually told.
We were told.
Yeah.
He did it in Spain as well before he came over. And if you went back in a line, so it was practicing in training, if you went back in a line, he just sub you out straight. And Vincent Kompany lost his head and just said, guys, we can do it at a certain point, but if you make that decision, guys, just go. Once one drops, we'll all drop. So some of the goals that we used to concede under Pellegrini, but when it works, it's amazing. So I understand why, but they're doing it from the halfway line. They're not doing it from the 18-yard box. They're doing it from the halfway line. So
that's what I mean. It's madness,
if you
really.
time you run, against top players who are intelligent, you'll get punished. I couldn't play in that. I couldn't play in that system. And it's like you said, up until now, it's worked for them. But let's not. The tournament, the quality gets better. The strikers, doing that against Thuram and Martinez, no chance. No chance. They can't do that. They're going to have to be more cautious. But they do it so they can get players like Rafinha and Lamel on the ball as soon as possible.
I suppose what they're doing is backing themselves going forward more than the other team going the other way. And it's great, I have to say, it's a hell of a watch. It's like, you know you're going to get goals in their games.
Even in the first game, Gaz, I know they got battered 4, but they still had chances. And even last night, I know they scored 3, but they had so many chances as well because of that high line and keep getting in. And you're right. I mean, I think for a centre forward to play against that, if you're clever enough, if you time your run, doesn't have to be a deep midfield run. If you're clever enough to time your run, you know, the old go short to go long run or whatever. There are so many ways to get around that as a forward. You would love to play against that high line, wouldn't you?
Fancy yourself 2 or 3 one-on-ones in the game.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, absolutely.
Shout out Garassi though as well.
Where's he going to end up?
I don't know actually because he's a weird striker.
He's a weird striker.
No, but he's a bit of a journeyman.
Yeah.
He's been around a few clubs, and he's sort of he's not rapid, but the timing of his runs is really good, and he's got good feet for a big man. He missed couple of sitters in the first leg. I don't know if you remember. One come over and he just need to contact it. The other one, he should have probably scored as well. But in the second leg, it was too little too late. But he is a top striker.
What about strikers there? It's going to be fascinating in the summer, you know, watching the business that some of the big clubs do. Because there are so many clubs, particularly in the Premier League, who need centre forwards. Chelsea, Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal. I mean, all these clubs are going to be needing a big name, top class centre forward. So
Newcastle once Isak goes.
No.
I think I mean, he did show that intelligence to beat that offside trap on a number of occasions as well, which goes to our point. But Barcelona Inter's going to, I mean, both semi-finals are going to be terrific. And which first leg are you doing, Alan? Because I presume
we've just had it confirmed this morning. Our first one is Arsenal at the Emirates.
At the Emirates
on the Tuesday evening. And then the following Tuesday after that, we're into Milan for Inter Barca.
You're in Milan, yeah?
Yeah.
The San Siro. Ooh,
yeah.
Tasty stuff.
Be brilliant. Man.
Right, Al, go on.
Fill your boots, go on. We'll be quiet now for the next 2 minutes.
But goodbye from me. Goodbye from Micah. Alan, carry on. We'll let you do the last 3 minutes on your own, Alan.
Shoot me down if you want, boys, but I'm watching some of the best football we've seen at St James's Park in a long, long time. We really are. The energy, the performances of every single player, they are actually getting better as the season comes towards an end. It's brilliant to watch.
Look at that smile on his face, Michael. Look at that little.
Can I just talk to me, guys, about Jacob Murphy?
What a season he's had.
After 20 seconds last night, right, he gets the ball, and all he wants to do, and he puts this amazing cross into the box. One of those horrible crosses for the goalkeeper and defenders that's in between them. And Isak couldn't quite get on the end of it. Joe Linton couldn't. But Jacob Murphy is doing the simple things better than anyone at the moment. He really is. And he's looking at, his season he's having, oh my goodness. Tonali, Isak, Harvey Barnes again, what a performance. So, yeah. But here's my rant. It could have been so differently because they go 1-0 up and VAR thinks it's a wise idea to send the referee to the screen. But that's what I'm on about. And then,
for those that haven't seen it, Pope comes out, doesn't he?
Collides
almost
with
the edge of his
Richard.
own box, and
Richard.
looks like he gets a bit of the ball, but then as it wasn't the leading hand that made contact with not Micah Richards, the other Richards, and I think he hit maybe a bit of collision with his other arm. But
come on, I mean,
but the ref didn't give a penalty on the field.
Exactly.
And VAR turned it over.
So he sends him to the screen, and he stands there for. I mean, and the anger with the crowd because he's standing there for 2.5-3 minutes, looking at what it was meant to be a clear and obvious error. Do me a favour, man. Seriously, it's one of those things again. If you've got to stand for 2 or 3 minutes and shown them 2,000 angles of an incident that it just didn't happen, it's not clear and obvious. Get it right. No one's enjoying watching officials stand there for 2 and 3 minutes. It's not obvious if they have to do that. Jesus Christ.
I trust you weren't particularly happy with that decision.
Well, it could have been so different. I mean, it was a shambles of a penalty from Eze. It was one of the worst penalties you've ever seen.
Well,
and he missed it.
I haven't seen what happened.
One of those stop-start penalties where he's hoping the keeper goes and moves, and Nick Pope did move to his right and then read it and dived to his left and saved it. But Newcastle scored a minute later, so luckily it didn't really matter. But anyway, Newcastle are into third, and that's all that matters. What a way to end! What a way to end!
What a way to end, Al. Beautiful stuff. We'll be back on Monday with our usual episode, but for now, goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me. Have a great weekend.
Oh, and don't forget to check out the Rest is Football Daily Brightness. Goodbye.